Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Gravity Tech. This is fourth video on C programming series. In today's video, we will continue from the point we left in the previous video. So if you haven't watched the earlier video, then I would recommend to go through those videos to learn more about C. Now what is agenda of today's video? Basic maths to know the integer, float and characters, primary data types, and then further categorization of primary data types into integer, float, and characters in detail. And then what exactly are we going to cover as a part of next session. Now let's look at what is the basic maths. Okay. So friends, before going to the data types, you need to know the basic maths. What is integer? The integers are basically in a range from minus infinity to plus infinity, where like is a minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, but no decimal numbers. Okay, 2.3, 5.46 are not allowed here. These are also called as signed integers because the negative sign is also allowed here. That's why signed. Whereas the unsigned integers, the name itself says no sign is no sign will be there, right? So that means only positive integers will be considered as a part of unsigned integers. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to the plus infinity. Whereas a float is basically all the numbers which can be written as a decimal numbers like 2.5 minus 67.23 and so on. Remember, every integer can be also considered as a float. So if 8 is an integer, you can write 8.0, which will basically treat it as a float. Characters. Character is a single character, okay, and in total C has 255 characters. Okay, now let's look at what are the primary data types are. So primary data types are categorized into integer, floating, and character. Integer data type is further categorized into short, integer, long, 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 depending upon the size of integer. Floating, float, double, long, double, and then character is a single char data type. Okay, now what exactly maybe so the size of integer basically depends upon the operating system architecture. In so if operating system is of 16-bit, then the size would be 2 bytes, whereas operating system is 32-bit, then operating the integer size will be 4 bytes. So in this video we will assume system is a 32-bit. Let's go to the next slide to know about the integer types and the respective range values. Okay. Now, to quickly tell more about the integer types, those are again categorized into four types: int, so short int, long int, and long int. So let's look at the short int. Okay. So the size of short int is basically 2 bytes, which can hold any value from the range minus 32,768 to 32,767. Now, how this range is calculated? Now, 2 bytes means basically 16 bits. So the range will be 2 raised to 15 to 2 raised, so minus 2 raised to 15 to minus plus 2 raised to 15 minus 1. See, so here it has a range calculation. So range calculation in memory size of n bits, then the range will be what? Minus 2 raised to n minus 1 to 2 raised to n minus 1 minus 1. So in case of short int, since memory size is of 2 bytes, that is 16 bits, so the range would be what? Minus 2 raised to 15 to 2 raised to 15 minus 1. Now, unsigned short integer. It is again of 2 bytes, but the range differs. Since it is unsigned, it will only consider the positive numbers. But what will happen to the negative numbers? What are there in the short int, right? Those will basically just be added to this positive side. So 32,767 plus 32,768. So the range of unsigned short integer becomes 0 to 65,535. And similarly, the size of integer is basically of 4 bytes. What does that mean? It can hold any number from the range minus 2 kharab, 14 arab, 74 lakhs, 83,648 to plus value of that minus 1. Okay, and the unsigned int will basically just be a this value will be plus to this, and that will basically give you 4 corrupt something. Okay. Same holds for the long and long int. Okay. Now let's go to the float. Okay. The float data types would be like float, 4 bytes, double, 8 bytes, long double, 16 bytes, 6 decimal places. The precision. What does it mean by precision places? Let's say now uh, if you have a number 2.3, if you have a number 2.3, right? Then how many values you can have, how many numbers you can have after this decimal point, right? That is basically the precision. So you can have 3.4, 2, 1, 6, 1. So max you can have 6 values. If you are giving more than 6, then it will basically only consider the 6. Okay. Yeah. So one more point maybe I just forgot here to tell you, right? An integer, right? Now, how you can basically, what example I can give in this case, where you will use short integer, where you will use integer, where you will use long integer, right? Just think of the number of students present in a school. Now, you know the number of students present in a school will never exceed maybe more than 3,000, 5,000, or 30,000, right? In that case, you can use the short integer. Now, just think of the population of the Maharashtra or any state, right, which is going to be like more, right, or maybe but less than the Kharab. So there you will use the integer. But if you just think of the population of India, so at that time, even integer will not be enough there, right? So you will need to use long int. So that's what an example of integer data type, what exactly to use and where. Okay. So we looked at float, integer, we looked at the float. Uh, Now the character, as already I said, right? The character, there are total 256 characters uh, in a C language. So the 1 byte memory size is enough to hold all those characters. Signed character will range from -28 to 127, whereas unsigned character will range from 0 to 255. Now let's go to the IDE to know more about it. Okay, so I have just tried to put it here. What the same data, right? I've just copied it here. So don't worry about this data. To know the size of any variable or data type, we need to use a size of function, which is inbuilt in the C language. Don't worry about it. We will come to know about this function later. So in this, we are going to do two exercises. One, first, we will see the size of all different data types. And then second, we will see what happens if we give a number greater than or less than, or maybe, yeah, greater than or less than of the given range or allowed range. Now let's look at the first part. I have just commented out few things to save some time. I'm uncommenting that. So if you look at here, one more thing, don't worry about the printf and scanf. We are going to cover this in detail in next session, next video. So yeah, printf. So it is going to just print a size of short integer, that is size of short, size of int, size of long, size of long, size of float, size of double, size of long double, size of char. So this will basically tell you what exactly the sizes of different data types. I just ran it and here is output. If you see here, size of short int is 2 bytes, int is 4 bytes, long int is also 4 byte, long is 8 bytes, whereas size of float is 4 bytes, size of double is 8 bytes, and the size of long double is 16 bytes, and whereas the size of char is only 1 byte. Okay. Now, the second part, maybe what I had here, is what will happen if we give something out of range. As we know, the range of this is what, minus 32,768 to 32,768. What will happen if you give this value of short int as a 32,769, right? Since we know the maximum value allowed here is 32,767, so what will happen? It will basically minus this maximum value from this, which gives you the number 2, and it will take those two numbers from the back end. So the two numbers means what? Minus 32,768 and minus 32,767. Remember. So this will be the value stored when we say this in a short int. Remember. So this is circular, and same is applicable for others. I'm going to demonstrate this here. Okay. Look at this short int. I'm putting some value within the range 32,000. So it will take, when it's trying to print I, it will print 32,000 only. Okay. See, here is the 32,000. But if I give something more, that is 32,769, which is basically exceeding the range, it will take in a circular manner, that is minus 32,767. That's what actually we saw here. Correct? Now, what if I give a negative value lesser than the allowed one? Let's say 770. What does that mean? So here, since it is only allowed as a 768, right? So what it will basically do, minus 3200, 770. So there are two numbers on this side. So it will go take two numbers from this side, 67 and then what? 66. So it should hold basically the value 32,766. See, right? I hope this is clear. So if you give something which is not in a given range, allowed range, then it will basically take the values in a circular manner and applicable to all of the other data types too. Okay, that's what about that data types. Right, now let's look at the next part. Okay, now when we talk about the characters, why only 1 byte to store the character? Why not more? So let's look at the reason behind it. As we know, there are only 255 characters, 256 characters in C. We would need something which will hold the value from 0 to 255. So why it is so? We know 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So it will hold the maximum value only if when all 8 bits are set to 1. And when we convert these binary number to the decimal number with the help of the formula 2 raised to 7 plus 2 raised to 6 plus 2 raised to 5 plus 2 raised to 4 and up to plus 2 raised to 0, it will basically give us the value 255. That's why, and since there are only 256 characters in C, we are good to hold every character in a single byte. That's why there is only a need of 1 byte for the character. So unsigned range basically from 0 to 255, and the signed range will be what? From, I think that is something maybe I need to change it, but that is minus 128 to 127. Okay, yeah. So that's all I had in this video. In next video, I will talk about the format specifiers, scanf and printf functions, which are used for input and output, live examples on the format specifiers. Do not miss that. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share if you haven't done so. Happy learning with Gravity Tech. See you in the next video. Thank you.